Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I know that it is a Friday and there's lots going on, but I'm thrilled that we're going to be here today together to talk about something that's very exciting, and that's careers in real estate. For those of you that I haven't had a chance to meet before, my name is Libby Davis, and I'm a program manager for the MBA programs team here at Forte. So again, thank you for joining us today. It's going to be a great conversation. So if you haven't joined a Conquer Your Career session in the past, this is part of a series that really looks at a little bit deeper of a level what it means, what the work looks like to be a woman with an MBA in various fields. And so as I kind of mentioned already today, and as you know, because you signed up for this webinar, we are talking about careers in real estate. So let's get started. So I really think that, and I think any TV show that you watch on TV will tell you that the real estate industry is dynamic and exciting, but it's just so much more than what we see on our favorite shows. There's many different ways that you can make your mark in this ever-changing industry, including development, investment, affordable and sustainable housing. The list goes on. And so our panelists today have really found their fit in this business function, and they plan to discuss the knowledge, skills, and abilities that helped launch them into this career path. So I'm going to get started by introducing you to our amazing panelists. And so the first person I'd like to introduce you to is Charlotte Du. Charlotte is a senior associate at Nuveen Real Estate in New York City, and she graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2019. So Charlotte, I'd love to welcome you, and if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit more about your career journey.
Absolutely. Thank you, Libby, and it's great to be here. So like Libby had said, I work for Nuveen Real Estate, which is an investment arm of PIAA. We have about 150 billion AUM in real estate across the globe, including the majority share here in the US. I actually originally grew up in China. I attended college in China, and through a transfer or exchange program, I landed here in the US, had my first role out of college working in hotel revenue management at Marcus Hotels and Resorts in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And that's how I learned about real estate as a career path after shadowing fellow colleagues on real estate acquisition deals, and thought that was really amazing, really interesting. So after nearly a year at Marcus, I gladly joined Wisconsin as an MBA student, pursuing a degree in real estate. And that was really a great decision because Wisconsin, when I first visited, it was in the fall and beautiful, and I get to meet Libby. Everybody was super nice, and the real estate program there is very highly regarded. I was frankly the only girl in our MBA class focusing on real estate, so that was a very interesting experience, a little nerve-wracking in the beginning, but I quickly was able to utilize all the resources that the program provided, attended case competitions, got an internship at Prologis, learned about other asset classes. And when I was graduating, I had a few job offers, but I ended up moving to Raleigh, North Carolina to work for a family office focusing on multifamily investments, acquisitions, asset management, and development. After 2 years there, which I can go into detail later, I decided that I want to work for a more institutional shop. So since 2021, I've been with Nuveen, focusing on investments in alternative housing space, which means manufactured housing, single-family rental, self-storage, all the alternative asset class, and it's been a great ride. So that's about me.
Thank you, Charlotte. All right, so next I'm pleased to introduce you to Carolyn Lehman. Carolyn is an associate at Hines, and she graduated from the University of Michigan Ross School of Business in 2023. Caroline, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Of course. Thank you so much, Libby. So as Libby said, I'm an associate at Hines, which is a vertically integrated, family-owned private real estate company, about $94.6 billion of assets under management. But to tell you a little bit more about myself, I went to Duke for my undergrad in civil and environmental engineering, and moved up to DC to work in construction management right out of college. And I did that for a few years, then went back to civil engineering. But I always really wanted to be on the other side of the table, really driving forward the decisions and the design and sustainability of projects, which is what drew me to look at an MBA. I graduated just last year from Ross, Go Blue, and it was really amazing just being able to work with Hines for my internship. I always knew I wanted to go into real estate development given my background. And it's been really fun getting to work here for the past year and just learning from so many amazing women on the ground here. And at Ross, I was really fortunate to be a Forte Scholar as well. So I'm extremely grateful to this organization for their sponsorship and really excited to speak to you all today.
Thanks, Caroline. All right, and last but certainly not least, it's Songyi Wang. Songyi is Director of Investments and Acquisition at Greystar. She graduated from the University of California, Los Angeles in 2021. So Songyi, we'd love to learn more about you, your experiences, and your career path.
Thanks, Libby. Hey, everyone. My name is Songyi. I currently work on the acquisitions team within the investment vertical at Greystar. So Greystar is the largest property multifamily owner and manager in the US, and we manage about 78 billion AUM and own about 80,000 apartment units within the US. I joined Greystar after completing my MBA at UCLA Anderson. I actually had the opportunity to intern at Greystar between the 2 years during business school, and had a great experience and decided to come back. And prior to business school, I already worked on the real estate side, but working for an insurance company doing debt originations. And I was previously based in Boston. So spent several years working through both asset management and loan origination for an insurance company. Decided that I really wanted to stay within the real estate industry, but wanted to move to the equity side of things. And also from a geographical location perspective, wanted to get out of Boston and go to somewhere warm. So that's what prompted my decision to pursue an MBA and in Southern California, and really loved it here and decided to stay. Currently, my primary responsibilities are working on acquisitions of value add, core plus, active adult properties within the Northwest market. So the Northern California, Seattle, and Portland being the primary MSAs. I've been at Greystar for about 2.5 years and really enjoyed my experience, and happy to talk through more, in the next hour about my career path and why I chose real estate and acquisition specifically.
Awesome. Thank you all for giving us an introduction to you and your experiences, and I know we'll dive deeper into that during our panel as well. So with that, let's get started with our questions. So the first question, I'm going to ask it to Caroline and Songyi, but we'll probably start with Songyi if that works okay with you. So the first question I'd like to ask is, how do you know that the real estate industry was the right choice for you?
Yeah, so when I graduated from college, I went to a really small liberal arts school with not a lot of kind of specific majors for job related functions. So we had a general economics and business major, which is what I did, but didn't have the specific kind of functional areas like accounting, real estate, or anything like that. So I knew that I had a general interest in business, but definitely did not know what specific areas I wanted to do. And so what I ended up doing is I joined an insurance company that's pretty large called Sun Life Financial, and specifically of their rotational program. So that was set up to be a 3-year rotational program where you spend 12 months with a specific team, and then you kind of move on, and that's across all business segments. So that could be like marketing, HR, product, investment. Within investment, it could be like on the equities research side, it could be on real estate. So many different functions. So I thought that gave me the opportunity to explore, and then really like honing in on what specific business areas I want to get into. I actually had a lot of fun doing my first rotation in HR recruiting. especially fresh out of college and going back to all the campuses and, do on-campus presentations. So that was super fun and great experience, but I definitely thought that I was missing on the analytical side of things. So I kind of missed, diving into the numbers a bit and like understanding models and metrics. So in my second rotation, I actually had the opportunity to work with the commercial mortgages team within the investment group. So that's how I got exposed to real estate. I had never taken a real estate class before, but just learning on the job, I really enjoyed the fact that it really combines both analytical skills and, people and relationship management skills. You need to be able to talk to people on the phone, talk to brokers, borrowers, present at investment committees internally, but also be able to dive into the numbers and really understand models, returns, like, cap rates. So personally, I thought that was a great combination of both sides of my brands, and having just really like had the opportunity through the rotational program with that role is what made me interested in real estate, and more so like from the combination of skills, like that's kind of what I really like look for, and I just thought that was like the balance between two sides of my brands, and decided to continue pursuing that.
I like the way you phrase it, the balance of two sides of my brain. I think that's great.
Yeah.
All right, Caroline, would you mind answering the same question?
Yeah, of course. And to build on what Sonia said, I went to business school primarily to get that financial component that I was missing with my previous background in construction management and civil engineering. And although I've only really been working in the industry for a year, it's one of those industries where I truly am excited to come to work every day. I didn't believe people when they told me this, but every day is truly different, presents a different set of challenges, specifically on the development side. You also have to communicate across so many different stakeholders, lawyers, brokers, city staff, my muralists, our interior designers, engineers, and also bring that financial analysis to the table with stakeholder communication. So it really comes down to me I really enjoy solving complex problems daily, and I thrive on sort of coming up with those creative solutions. And especially now in this challenging economic environment with rising construction costs and high land values, it's fun tackling those challenges every day and bringing something to the table. So that's really how I realized that real estate industry is the right choice for me after a year of working here.
I love that. Complex problem solving every day, but it's fun. That sounds like a great way to go to work every day. All right, so the next question, I'm going to pose it to Charlotte. So Charlotte, how did you determine the type of real estate work that would be the most interesting to you, and what other career tracks did you consider?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always know investment is the right track for me. I am a very analytical person. I'm good with Excel. I'm good with numbers. In my first role out of college, I did a lot of Excel on the revenue management side, managing group and transient hospitality business. So that was a lot of fun. When I was considering potential career tracks within real estate, that means whether it's acquisitions, development, or asset management. And luckily, for my first role out of college, out of the MBA program at Hudson Capital Properties, a family office, I got to do a little bit of everything. And for development, when I was working on project management for a few developments, I realized that that might not be a great personality fit, because I'll be overseeing a project from start to finish over a period of 2 years, sometimes maybe even longer. And I'm not very good at herding cats through a long period of time. And also, I want to see more investment opportunities versus just one. I also appreciate those who have background in construction management, in engineering, who are able to really call people's BS on, whether, change order requests and all that, which I don't think I have the strong skill set for. And then when it comes to asset management, I learned a lot through managing multifamily properties in the Sun Belt, and that was a very valuable experience. But over time, it becomes a little bit more routine for me. And so I do really want to continue to explore and travel to different locations and looking at new potential investments. That's how I decided I want to continue to be on the acquisition and new investment side. And now that I've been with Nuveen and seeing other friends pursuing career paths on the investment front, I realized in real estate investments, depending on the groups, I mean, very different things. So if you're working on the operator side, right, maybe you're getting closer and closer to the assets. And if you're working for a mega fund, maybe you don't get to travel and see the assets at all. So I think for my current role at Nuveen, I'm getting a happy medium where I do model things from a very high level, but also get to see the nitty-gritty details of a specific asset.
And I love that you mentioned that in that role right after the MBA, you really got a chance to like dive in and do a lot of different things. And we were kind of talking about this before the panel started, but sometimes it's the best way to, you know, find out what you like and what you don't like. And then you just kind of continue to focus in on what you do like. So thank you, Charlotte. That was great. So the next question I'll pose to Charlotte and Caroline, and maybe we can start with Caroline on this one. What is it about your role that excites and motivates you?
Yeah, so as my role as an associate at Hines, I'm currently focused on multifamily development. So I'm working on about 1,100 units in various stages of development. And right now, as I'm sure many of you are aware, there's this ongoing housing crisis in the US, and every new housing unit constructed is especially significant at this time. So I really am motivated and excited about the long-term impact of these buildings that we're constructing. They'll be around for 50 plus years, and we'll be able to provide homes for thousands of people. And that's really what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Oh, that's great. Charlotte, same question.
Yeah, so in my role on the transaction side, especially focusing on alternative housing investments, since alternative investments are still kind of in the early innings of being institutionalized, and that's like a great opportunity in the long term. So a lot of the times when we are managing on behalf of internal balance sheet money as well as third-party accounts, we need to present strong business case. That means we need to research the industry, research the sectors, come up with investment ideas, and need to really pitch those sectors to get PM buy-in, and need to figure out how to invest, what partners to select, and really what kind of geographic areas to target, and what specific metrics to select. So those are really exciting entrepreneurial type of experience of being in this early innings of the alternative space, and I really enjoy those pieces of my job.
I like that you mentioned that it's semi-entrepreneurial. I think that's a fun part of a lot of different jobs, but certainly in real estate, I see that being a component of a lot of things. So thank you to you both. So our next question will be for Song-Yi. So Song-Yi, how might individuals facilitate a successful career pivot into real estate?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people, right, like going into an MBA program, that's kind of what one of their goals are. Like maybe they came from consulting, maybe they came from maybe like more of an engineering background, but wanting to transition to real estate. And I had several of my good friends from business school who were successful in doing that. And I think there are probably like three like main things I would probably say are the key focuses. So number one is probably like really like know your numbers and know your models, and have your basic real estate industry knowledge, and that's whether being like learning it from classes during the MBA program, or just kind of spend your time going through like online training. There's just so many resources right now that's at your fingertips that you could just like kind of self-study. But definitely be able to demonstrate that you have the technical knowledge. Maybe that you didn't necessarily have like prior to business school. So you want to show that. And then number two is probably like you want to make sure that you're like networking and like actually talking to people. That's I'm sure we'll talk even more about that. And number three, I would probably say is like tell your story. I think like if I'm getting a resume from someone who didn't have prior direct real estate experience. Previously, I would want to know like whether it's through like a cover letter or like maybe someone reaching out to me and like, telling me that why they're applying to this job and what motivated them to pivot into real estate. Because I think it's very easy for me to like just pass on the resume if you didn't have the direct relevant experience. But if someone like actually actively reach out or showed clearly on in their cover letter, like this is the reason why I want to transition into real estate, and like here is how I have prepared myself for this opportunity, and then here are the transferable skills I have gained in my prior work experience. So I think like doing kind of those three things are probably some of the key focuses that will help you to pivot into real estate.
No, those are great, and I think we'll probably dive a little deeper into those in our next question too, because as you all have mentioned, kind of one of the reasons that you might be interested in an MBA program is because you're trying to do a career pivot, or you're trying something different, or you're trying to explore what your interests are. So for those of our audience that are here today who are enrolled in an MBA program, or who are planning to enroll in an MBA program, or who might even be thinking that they want to go into an MBA program, what do you think that the attendees today can do during business school to prepare for a career in real estate? And specifically, are there any like courses or activities that you found to be really meaningful that you'd recommend that people engage with? And so for this question, I know that was like a long intro, but I'm going to pose it to Caroline and Song Yi, and we'll go with Caroline first.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I specifically chose Michigan for my MBA program is that it has a student-led real estate fund, which was a great platform for us to invest real money in real investments and sort of see the full life cycle of projects. And that was honestly one of the best experiences I got out of my MBA program, because I also was able to leverage my peer network and faculty network and present to our board. But also I think participating in case competitions was really helpful. Hines actually sponsors a ULI case competition. There's a HUD specific one, there's school specific ones through UNC and UT Austin. And then also just being involved in your real estate and urban planning clubs. And then also sort of stretching yourself outside of typical real estate finance classes, I think is really important. Even if you're not going into development, knowing taking architecture classes, urban planning classes, construction management classes are extremely useful to just be able to speak to the full life cycle of real estate.
Those are all great things, and I'm sure everyone's taking notes furiously as you all are mentioning these items. But Song Yi, same question to you.
Sure. I would definitely echo the case competition aspect. I think Charlotte mentioned it as well. That's definitely a great opportunity for you to, one, like really just like help yourself to demonstrate that like you do have the knowledge and the technical skills. And I think that's especially important if you didn't do, direct like real estate related, more kind of like, analytical focused roles before business school. So I think doing case competition definitely helps you to stand out. But also I would say that like if you have opportunities to do like even like a part-time internship, or like whether it's paid or unpaid, or just some sort of like experience during school, like it could be during the school year, that kind of helps you to it could be at a smaller company, family office. It could even just be like someone that you are like helping them out. But if you can kind of demonstrate that you do have some work experience that's somewhat relevant, that will set you up well for kind of recruiting for like bigger companies, more institutional roles through your like formal like summer internship recruiting process. So yeah, those are things that I would like to add.
Those are all great. Those are all great things to add. And that's a perfect segue into our next question, which we'll pose to both Charlotte and Song Yi. And we'll start with Song Yi on this one. So could you describe the recruitment process in real estate? You kind of talked a little bit about like maybe getting part-time internships before the big kind of recruitment process. So if you could just dive deeper into the larger recruitment process, and then what strategies did you utilize to really prepare for these MBA level interviews in your field? So we'll start with Song Yi, and then we'll go to Charlotte.
Yeah. So I think real estate recruiting generally is a bit on like structured compared to consulting or banking or even tech right now. So I would say that, you do have probably a handful of companies and who would actually, go on campus and do the on-campus interview, like, posting and on-campus interview. And those typically happen. So like if you're first year, those would typically happen like in the fall quarter that will, start like accepting applications, but the interviews typically happen kind of like January. It could one or two companies maybe like starts in like October, November, but like probably most of the companies will start in January for interviews. That's for the summer internship. So you'll find out like maybe in February and March. That's like for the earlier, more structured ones. But then you'll have like so many kind of smaller, more regional players who would like not have a structured recruiting process, but really like they will be like more just in time. Like, it could be coming into your summer in May, and then there's still a lot of companies who just realize that, oh, actually, I would like to have an intern. And a lot of those opportunities that you have to create, through networking. So I think, obviously try to participate in this more structured ones, but then even if you don't kind of get a good opportunity through that process, there's still plenty of opportunities and with companies that you can reach out to between that like March to May time frame. And I think and then to get one other thing I'll probably just want to mention, like even if you either like didn't get the ideal summer internship, or like maybe you like didn't really enjoy the role or the companies, or for whatever reason decide not to go back, or like maybe there was no offer, it's pretty common for real estate companies like not necessarily give a return offer. It's just not as structured as some of the other industries. So fairly common, and because it's pretty hard for us to like predict when the headcount needs, or like how many, or like when we would need to add like full-time staff. So I think from the second year perspective, like even if you didn't have a return offer, like there's just still a lot of time and opportunities to just continue networking and participate in the full-time recruiting process. So definitely, longer and less structured, it could come across as stressful because all your banking and consulting friends would have jobs like by January, and so just be patient and like keep working at it. But good thing is, I feel like there are very few women, as like Charlotte and like Caroline mentioned, right, like who are really targeting real estate. And I think in a way, it's like, yeah, like you will stand out. So if you put yourself out there, like it's probably a good thing. You'll make an impression, probably more so than like your male counterparts at school. So just be patient and like keep networking.
I think that's really helpful that you're kind of also setting expectations that like this process is unstructured. It might be different. Like the ratio and return offers might be different than other industries. So I appreciate you kind of level setting with that too. Yeah. All right, Charlotte, same question to you.
Yeah, definitely want to echo a lot of the same points that Sony brought up. And for me, I was an international student too, which kind of even more complicates the recruitment process. From day one, when I was talking to our program director, she had said, we believe in you, but you have to work very, very hard, and which is what I did throughout the MBA process. I started networking from day one. I reached out to alumni, reached out to industry people to grab coffee, to get to know what they're doing. Initially, when I reached out to them, I wouldn't say, oh, I want to join your company. I want to ask for an offer or a job interview, all of that. I was just going in with the intention of building relationships and really getting to know the industry players and getting to know them as a person. So I planted the seeds until when it comes to the internship or full-time recruitment timeframe, which then I would follow up and say, hey, I saw this job posting. Do you actually have any jobs? Do you have any recommendations? Do you have any advice for me? Do you think I'll be a good fit? If so, I would love to learn more. Kind of just be more humble in the process and be sure to not be so pushy and be more approachable. So I think I've got success with that approach. And also, I know a lot of the major companies don't really recruit international students. So I kind of set my expectations low. Instead, I apply for every single job, and I select target markets, and I reach out purposefully for people who are in that specific markets. And I think it ended up really paying off during, the final few months of trying to get a job. I did every day. I have 4 or 5 phone conversations with people, sometimes just to check in, sometimes just to grab coffee and all of that. But yeah, I think your first job out of your MBA program might not even be the one you spend your whole life with, but it will definitely help you to learn and grow. And eventually, once you have a job after your MBA program, then it's much easier to jump to a different company. So I eventually landed at Nuveen, and I'm pretty happy where I am now.
And I love how you mentioned like your intention with all the coffee chats and all the networking that you were doing. It was to build a relationship and set that foundation so that in the future, when something was really interesting that you wanted to learn more about, you could easily go back to that person and learn more. So I think that's fantastic. And Charlotte, you were doing such a good job talking about networking. Let's continue that conversation. So a strong professional network, like all of you have mentioned here today, is one aspect of a successful career in real estate. So what recommendations do you have, outside of what you've already mentioned, Charlotte, that attendees here today can do if they're just kind of beginning to establish connections in the real estate industry, which can be hard to crack sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say think about all the resources you have. First of all, you have your school, right? And your school usually, very likely will have a very strong industry network. Try to reach out to the alumni, establish a good rapport early on. And there are other industry organizations you can be a part of, for example, like CREFC, on the debt side, ELI, all the other organizations you can be a part of. Try to attend as many of those conferences as possible, and be sure to not be afraid to walk up to people, introduce yourself, because sometimes people get tired of talking to professionals, and when they see a student and who are like eager to talk to them, everybody loves talking about their jobs. So it's always a great way to get to know people. And in addition to that, maybe like think about joining some other professional organizations. One organization that I really benefited from was the GODI initiative. So they're a women's founded initiative based out of Chicago. They give out scholarships very generously, in addition to all these great programmings to help people network, gain useful skills, and also they really try to help you find a job. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And I think if you are an aspiring MBA student who are, you can still apply for the GODI Scholar spot. So definitely look into that.
And Libby, I'll just adding on to the industry organization for a networking perspective. Like I think Crew would be another one that's really good. That's Commercial Real Estate Women's Group, and they have chapters in all the major cities. And I personally was a part of Crew in Boston, and then like moved from Boston to LA. Actually, just asked one of the president in Boston, and hey, can you like introduce me to someone in LA? And like when I like kind of made the move to LA, like got connected with the LA group, and then kind of later on moved down from LA to Orange County and got connected again. So I think it's not only as a great networking or like tool and organization to be a part of, it's also like if you are considering going to a different city for your business school, like they could also leverage like the organization to automatically like put you in touch with a bigger group of professionals within the real estate industry.
I love that. That's a great recommendation, especially as you're like deciding where your next move is, and you're moving to a new city where you don't know anyone. So I think that's great. Thanks, Songyi. All right, and our last official question is actually for Caroline. So Caroline, how have the other women in your network been a help to you throughout your career? And what are some ways that you've seen women and allies support women and gender equity in the field?
Yeah, thanks for that. And Charlotte, you stole my Goldie plug right out of my mouth, but that really truly has been one of the best initiatives besides Forte that I've been a part of in terms of just women supporting women in this industry. The real estate network in general for women is pretty small, but I will say it's extremely strong and supportive. Being able to go to industry events and immediately find, you know, 5 other women who share the same experience as you do is really powerful. And I will say that not only finding allies, but finding advocates was really important for me. Someone who not only will support me, but who will also advocate for me behind closed doors. And that took me a while to seek out, but when you do find those, it's really important. So I would recommend, once you do get to your post MBA job, making sure you're seeking out peer mentors, as well as potentially managers or other types of managers within your firm who don't necessarily directly work with you. For example, one of the managing directors in our office is always making time to answer specific questions I have. She always invites me to attend industry events alongside her to introduce me to her network. I've also found really great supportive male allies too, who are willing to connect me and put out their neck for me as well. And also just trying to pay it forward by always accepting networking calls from other women in the industry as well. So I think that, you know, as we're trying to advance our own careers, it's really important to lift other women up at the same time.
What a perfect way to end all of our official questions. Thank you, Caroline. So now we do have a bit of time for questions from the audience. So not too much time, but if you have a burning question, please feel free to put it in the Q&A component of the Zoom webinar, and we'll, you know, hopefully be able to get to it if we can. But to just kind of start off the group while we're waiting for questions to roll in, I'd love to know from whoever wants to answer this question, you know, what is one way you believe you have grown professionally since starting your career in real estate? I'm not sure if there's someone that's like, oh, I'm ready. I know what I want to say for this question, but just thinking about and reflecting on your journey.
Sorry, Libby, can you just repeat the question again? Like how does
what is one way that you believe you've grown professionally since starting your career in real estate?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about it. I think you know, the natural progression a bit is that when you first start, and like, you know, probably a lot of the attendees right now, it's like you're kind of early on in your career, you're probably you know, spending a lot of your time in front of a computer doing analytical works, assuming if you're in like a real estate investment related roles or even on development kind of to start, you're probably doing a lot of just like, you know, analytical, like sometimes like maybe somewhat repetitive, whether it's underwriting a deal or just diving into the numbers. But I think like, you know, personally, it's pretty important to kind of eventually get out of that and like really see the big picture and understanding kind of more like the thesis, like why we're doing this deal, but then also like later on, it's like how do we convey the key like bets and like, you know, highlights of this deal to like investment committee to, you know, like best position yourself to be able to like put in like strong offers and like, you know, help yourself to like win the deal. So I think, you know, over time you're going from just like a task focus of like, okay, let me underwrite this, let me figure out the numbers, to more like the bigger picture of like, you know, how do I present something and how do I win something. So I think that's kind of like the progression and like, you know, learnings that you get as you continue to progress in your career.
Oh, that's great, Song-Yi, and I like the way that you framed it too, that it just is continuing. And that that kind of leads me to another question that I had at the back of my mind. And Song-Yi, you were talking about like specific tasks and experiences that you might have as you progress in your career. And obviously going back to school is one form of like professional development in a way, but if someone wouldn't mind speaking more broadly about professional development in real estate, and what does that look like? What are some things you might want to have in the, you know, looking to the horizon that you may want to be involved with? And then just generally, you know, is there anything that you think folks can do to make sure they're on track for expanded work opportunities, just broadly? So I don't know if anyone wants to try that one first.
Yeah, absolutely. I can take that. I think analytical skills in this industry is key, whether you're doing acquisitions, development, or asset management. So make sure you have very solid Excel modeling and Argus modeling skills. Well, actually, for multifamily, we don't really use Argus, but it's good to have that either way. So if you are looking for working in more of the premier elite investment banking groups, as an example, then definitely try out, break into Wall Street and all of their Excel programming that they have to offer. And other than that, I think networking remains very crucial in this industry. Another resource that I typically use is just looking at the public markets, looking at the public REITs. So especially in the alternative space where the industry, the private real estate investments into alternatives are not as mature, we most of the times look at the public market, the public REITs, follow their earnings for more guidance. So even when you're a student, right, like look at all the interesting REITs like equity, EXR, for example, and look at equity lifestyle on the manufactured housing front, look at fund communities on the manufactured housing front, Invitation Homes, all of the above, learning about their business plan. It helps you to get an idea of how people invest and how does the market think of their investment. It's always a great indication for private real estate values.
I'll also add on to that, Adventures in CRE is a great resource that I believe can be free to students. They have tons of different models that you can go in, follow their YouTube video while also having their model up and just making sure you're getting repetitions of building out a pro forma.
Amazing. Thank
I
you
probably
all.
just take like a different spin to that question a bit. To like, yes, like I think skills are definitely very, very important, and all of those are great resources. But I think maybe just one like different tips or advice would be like, just raise your hand and like take initiatives and don't be scared of things. I mean, this sounds cliche, but I think it's kind of true that we're always like women tend to like question ourselves, like, when there is a potential opportunity, we're always thinking that, okay, are we ready? Do I have the right skills? Like, can I do it? Do I already know how to do everything? Versus like guys tend to just be like, yeah, I'll do it. And then like, figure out even if they're not completely ready. So I think, in a way, we just have to like tell ourselves more that like, hey, we can do it, and just like raise your hand for the next opportunity, because a lot of time that you have to kind of advocate on your own behalf. Despite having like mentors and advocates, like I think a lot of times you still have to just raise your hand, and even if you're not 100% sure that you have all the skills, but we all have abilities to kind of figure out and learn as we go. So but probably just like giving yourself a bit more like confidence boost from time to time is pretty important to like kind of get to the next level of like promotions and expanded responsibilities.
What a perfect way to end this webinar. That is great. Yes. And we all should be raising our hands and believing in ourselves. And I think that's exactly what you're saying, Sung-Yi. So thank you very much. And thanks to Caroline and Charlotte and Sung-Yi for being here today and for sharing their experiences. I'm very sad, but we are at time. So it's been such a great conversation with everyone today. I hope that you've learned a lot, audience members. I know I certainly have, and I'm just very grateful and want to extend my gratitude to Caroline, Charlotte, and Sung-Yi for being here today and for sharing their expertise and their experiences. I know that the real estate industry is better because of the three of you, and I can't wait to see all the great things that you're going to do now and in the future. So with that, I hope that everyone has a lovely rest of their Friday. We hope to see everyone on a Conquer Your Career session soon, and we'll talk to you in a bit. Bye, everyone.